Another beach scene, this time on a cloudy day, so that we can go over the difference between what I would do with a golden sunset and, of course, the overcast day on the beach. So we're going to do a different edit on this one, and just so that you can see the difference between two different beach edits. So this is an example of a Jinky live session. It's simply sweet documentary style photographs on the beach in, obviously they're not swimming, but in a beachy way. Okay, so I want to actually work with the blues, and I also want to keep with that overcast feel and just enhance the overall feel of the photographs. So I think we're going to work on this one. Now make sure you download the PDF, because I am going to go back and forth and show you how I don't make up my mind at the beginning. I work as I go and I build as I go and go back to the settings and change them. Whereas the PDF will show you a run through step by step, one at a time, without the back and forthing. So we'll sync some of them though, so that we end up working on quite a few, but let's just start on this one. Okay, so first things first, I do want to minus the exposure just a touch so that I can bring back some of that detail in there. Minus 12 on the exposure, and I'm going to minus that contrast a little too, just to flatten the image out a bit. The temperature, I do want it to end up being a little bit bluer, so let's just put that on 4857. And the tint as well, I'd like that to be a little bit more aqua, so if we put that on +4, that makes the whole scene a little bit more aqua. Okay, so now we can bring back a bit of that detail, -40 on the highlights, and the whites as well. I need that back a little bit more, so I'll put that on -64. Now the shadows, I'm actually going to add contrast using the shadows this time around. So I'll put that on, let's put on +26, 27, somewhere around there. Okay. So now the blacks, I'm actually going to raise that right up to +100. Okay, now everything's feeling really flat at the moment. It all makes sense. So, well, let's just go down there and do that now actually. Because everything is so flat, I need to actually work on the luminance of the blues. Let's just keep this in so that we can see it. So I'm going to add a fair bit of luminance, and that darkens and desaturates basically. Let's put that on +20. And I'm going to desaturate the blues now. Okay. Okay. So now that we've flattened this out, what I need to do is click on this here. And I'm going to actually change this tone curve here using these sliders here. Now this is another one way of doing it. So I'm going to minus that. Actually, just bear with me. I'm going to do it by eye. I want that to be brought right up. And the shadows. Okay, now as you can see, that's brought back in contrast into the image straight away. Now we can still go back into this area here, so we click that again, and all I'm going to do is drag this back down and this down here, and that decontrasts as well. So let's go back up to the top here and play with this a little bit more. Now that I've got the contrast brought out again, I want to play with the split toning. I'm going to make this a little bit blue, and the shadows, I don't particularly want the shadows as blue. What I might do is make that more of a magenta. Okay, sharpening, we'll add some sharpening in, so I'll just raise that to +50. Or +43, a little bit of noise reduction, and I want to last but not least go straight back up to the hue saturations, and I haven't finished up here, so I want to make sure that the oranges are more yellow than orange, that they're desaturated a little but also illuminated so that they come out of the scene a little bit. Not too much desaturation. Okay, and the aqua, let's illuminate his shirt. See, now that came up straight away and you can really see his shirt. And let's just play with this luminance of the blues again. Okay. And I'm going to come back up to the highlights. So really what you're seeing is me playing, like I've mentioned. And I think it's important that I show you exactly how I actually really do. So now I'm dragging this down a little bit more. And I find that it is now actually a little bit too blue. So I'm going to use the temperature to bring that back a bit. And exposure. Now I need a vignette. So all I'm going to do is grab the vignette tool. So I've got that on -29. The midpoint, I kind of want to bring that back, but the feather and the roundness, feather needs to be all the way across. There we go. Now, I've got a vignette in there, but I'm still not quite happy with the tonal curve. So I'm going to again go in here and just play with this. I think I want the shadows to be darker and the darks to be darker. There we go. The highlights to be up. So now it's more contrast. Alright, I'm going to leave it at that. I can fiddle here all day, and what we'll do is we'll take that into Photoshop. We'll sync some other ones as well, but let's just do a before and after on this one. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we'll sync them and then we'll take a couple of them into Photoshop and we'll play with them in there. Okay, so here we are with the gallery, and I'm just going to grab all of them and sync settings, and obviously we haven't done any local adjustments on this one. And let's just see how these come out. I think that'll work. So let's go back in the, we'll grab these ones here especially and sync those settings. And let's go in reverse here and see how these work this way. Okay. On these ones, let's see how they go. Now again on this one it's just made them a little bit too bright, so all I'd need to do is reduce the exposure here. And I really like how his shirt's hitting that, matching the green on that house there behind them. Okay, having a nice little conversation there. Alright, so I think they work quite well. Have a look at this one. This one's gone a little darker than I'd like. So this is how I match galleries up. There we are. So I simply sync them and then just go in and make sure that they all work through. Okay. Oh, such a beautiful family. So for this one I'd just lower the highlights and the whites down. Maybe lower the exposure a little, and there we go. Alright, so now we'll just take one of those into Photoshop. I guess we'll go with the one that we started on, which was this one, and I'll see you in there. Here we are in Photoshop. Now you may have noticed that I didn't actually straighten the horizon in Lightroom. I could have done that there. I'm going to use a 5:7 ratio, so it doesn't crop to 5:7, it's a ratio. And I'm just going to straighten the horizon. Okay, so the DPI is left empty, which means that I can print that up to any size that I want. Alright, so now I'm going to go in and grab a selective colour. I'm going to work on the whites, and I want to add those, make those a little bit cyan. So I'm even going to increase the cyan feel ever so slightly. Okay, and then I'm going to do a levels and just boost up that contrast a little. They've kind of been lost in there. And a hue saturation. And I want to minus the saturation, even though I've added that blue in, you can still see it working there. Minus the saturation on everything but them, so I'm going to erase off on them. It doesn't matter if it's messy like this either. Okay. And I'm going to duplicate that background layer, filter blur, Gaussian blur, and I'll make that a rather large blur, and I'm just going to make a mask of that and erase off on them at 100% opacity and the plane in which their bike is on, and I'll reduce that down. When you do a Gaussian blur, always zoom in to 100% and make sure that you can't tell that you've done that. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate the background layer, Control J, and grab all the layers using Shift, Control Alt E, make a new layer. And what I'd like to do is, I've just done that and I'll put it in a group just so I've got it there. Okay. Now, this is my working layer. I'm just going to go above that now. So I've got to a point that I'm happy, and now I'm simply just fiddling. All I want to do is desaturate around them a little. And instead of using 100% opacity on them, I'll go with a 50%. So I'm erasing them back to a 50% opacity. And I think that's a nice softer look with this overcast sky. Alright. Now, I'm fairly happy with this, so I just want to Control J and do a quick dodge on them. So it's like a beauty dodge. Just dodge around them like slightly. And in doing this, it actually adds a little bit of a vignette. It's going back to the darkroom days. There we go. Very slightly. Okay. So I've gone back to this file because I've actually added this to the forum as a DNG file, so you can go down and download that. It is in a zip file. Now, I've also put in a preset for those of you that have Lightroom, and there's a PDF so that you can have step by step and follow through everything that I've done without the back and forth. Now I realize there was a lot of back and forth to get to the end result, but I was showing you how I really do it. So you can just go step by step by step and add it all in one at a time to get to the end result, and you can practice on this file. Or you can import the preset, and I've made a preset called Jinky Overcast Beach, and it's in the Jinky Art presets. And it does exactly the same thing, and you just click on it and it will bring you to the same result. Okay, so obviously that won't work on every single overcast beach. You realize that you do have to change it to work on different files. So if you don't know how to import presets, you go to Edit, Preferences. Okay, and then you click on Presets, and then you go Show Lightroom Presets folder, and it's in there. All right. So, I'll also put instructions for you on the PDF. So there's lots to do. I hope you enjoyed that.